Hello YouTubers, Keanu Dave again. I know I haven't done this in a while. As you know, there's not really that much updates, but there is a little bit on the McGoy era, so let's begin. Unearthly Child, the Daleks, the Edge of Destruction, the Keys of Marinus, the Aztecs, Centaurites, the Reign of Terror. Yep. Season 1, in my opinion, has to be Hartnell's best season. Then we head into season 2. Haven't seen much of this one. Planet of the Giants, Dalek Invasion of Earth, The Rescue, The Romance, that one's a really fantastic story. Enjoy that one. It's a two-parter. Space Museum, haven't seen. The Chase, which I find to be very underrated. The Time Middler, another fantastic story. The Ark, the Gunfighters, the War Machines, the 10th Planet, which is a great introduction to the Cybermen and the first concept of regeneration. And boy, what a great way to end the William Hartnell era on. Now we are looking at the Pat Rollin era. Power of the Daleks, which is animated. The Underwater Menace, which I think it's to be quite underrated. The Moonbase, a really fantastic Cyberman story. Evil of the Daleks, audio translated to CD. Tomb of the Cybermen, yep, another fantastic Cyberman story. The Ice Warriors, Enemy of the World. This has to be one of my personal favourites from Troughton's era. A really fantastic story for a six-parter. The Web of Fear. A bit put down by the telesnaps on episode 3, but oh well, we can't have everything. Just 1 second. And the Dominators. Okay. Mind Robber. Another fantastic, one of my personal favourites, a really fantastic story. Evasion, a bit too long for an 8-parter, but definitely a great introduction for Unit. Protons does have its clunkers, but still enjoyable. Seas of Death. War Games, a bit too long for a 10-parter, but definitely a great way to end the Black and White era and the Pat Troughton era. Spirit from Space, introduction to the John Pertwee era. Doctor Who and the Slayurians, Ambassador Death, another underrated, which is another really underrated story. Inferno, a really fantastic story, got such a Steven Spielberg feeling to it. Or Stephen King. Terror of the Ordons. Yep. Mind of Evil, a really underrated story. Has one of my personal favourites. Claws of Axos, a great story. Colony in Space, really underrated. Yeah, it does have its flaws, but I honestly see this one as the weakest out of season 8. The Demons, another fantastic story. Got such a Steven Spielberg and Stephen King feeling to it. Day of the Daleks, The Curse of Peladon, The Sea Devils, another one of my personal favourites from the Pertwee era. The Mutants, quite underrated. The Time Monster, shit molded into a disc. The Three Doctors, fantastic 10th anniversary episode. Carnival Monsters, Frontier in Space, Planet of the Daleks, The Green Death, one of the best, a really fantastic story. I know a sad departure of Joe Grant. The Time Warrior, another fantastic story and another one of my personal favourites, a great introduction to Sarah Jane and the Sultanans. So now we head into the later half of John Pertwee's season, Invasion of the Dinosaurs. Yeah, it's underrated. does have its flaws. Probably like the weakest out of season 11. Death to the Daleks, probably one of my another personal favorite stories. Yeah, this one's also quite underrated as well. Monsters of Peladon, another one of my personal favorite Jon Pertwee stories. A really fantastic story. Planet of the Spiders, another one of my personal favorite stories, and boy, what a great way to end the Jon Pertwee era on. Robot, definitely a great introduction to the Tom Baker era, such an underrated story. The Ark in Space, fantastic. Sultan Experiment, another fantastic story. Genesis of the Daleks, a really fantastic story. Revenge of the Cybermen, yeah, it's quite a good story. But yeah, it does have its flaws, like the Cybermen sounding a bit way too human, but still a good story, quite underrated. But probably like the weakest out of season 12. Terror of the Zygons. Planet of Evil, which is underrated. Pyramids of Mars, fantastic story, one of my personal favourite Tom Baker stories. The Androids of Tara, yeah, it's good, does have its clunkers and flaws here and there. Still a good story, but probably like the weakest out of season 13. The Brain of Morbius, a really fantastic story, one of my personal favourites from that era. Seeds of Doom, yeah, it's another fantastic story, a bit overrated and a bit too long for a six-parter. Musker and Dragora, a really underrated story and one of my personal favourite Tom Baker stories. The Hand of Fear, the departure of Sarah Jane Smith. Belly Assassin, another one of my favourite Tom Baker stories. The Face of Evil, yeah, it's still a good story, it does have its clunkers. But in my opinion, and it's still a good story, really enjoyable, but probably like the weakest out of season 14. Robots of Death, my all-time favourite Tom Baker story. Yep, I really love Robots of Death, seen this a lot. It's such a fantastic story for what it is. Talents of Wang Chiang, another fantastic story. A bit too long for a six-parter, but definitely does well. Horror of Fang Rock, another one of my favourite Tom Baker stories, and one of my favourite post-Philip Hitchcliffe episodes. Invisible Enemy, underrated. Another good post-Philip Hitchcliffe episode. Image of the Fandel, probably like my favourite post-Philip Hitchcliffe episode, and one of my favourite Tom Baker episodes. It's really underrated and really unappreciated for what it is. It's such a terrifying story, and overall another fantastic story. The Sunmakers, yeah, got some clunkers, but still good. Underworld, it's okay. The Invasion of Time, it's okay. Robot Serration, quite underrated. Pirate Planet, very underrated. Stones of Blood, overrated. I'm not going to talk about it. Androids of Tara, probably my favourite out of the Key to Time box set. The Armageddon Factor, another underrated story, and my second favourite out of the Key to Time box set. The Armageddon Factor, that's quite good. Destiny of the Daleks, underrated. Not as good as Genesis of the Daleks, but still good. City of Death, fantastic story. Creature from the Pit. Nightmare in Eden, it's okay. The Horns of Nimon, shit, another shitty story. Don't want to go ranking for it. Shalda, which was this year's release, fantastic story. Leisure Hive, okay. Meglos, a really fantastic story. Full Circle, great story, underrated. State of Decay, my favourite out of the EA Space trilogy. Great, fantastic story. Warriors Gate, probably like the weakest out of the EA Space trilogy, but still a good story. Keep on Truckin', fantastic story. Logopolis, personally one of my favourite Tom Baker stories, and boy, I think this was a really fantastic way to end the Tom Baker era on, after playing the Doctor for a record-breaking of 7 years. So yeah, boy, what a way to end that era. Castrovelva, a great introduction to the Peter Davison era and quite underrated. War to Doomsday, yeah, interesting story. Kinder, fantastic story. Visitation, fantastic story. And sadly, this is the Sonic Screwdriver's last appearance in the original series. Black Orchid, yeah, great, good story. Earthshock, another one of my favourite Cyberman stories, and definitely another fantastic Cyberman story. Now we head down to the bottom of the shelf. We've got Time Flight, pretty shit. Arc and Infinity, underrated. Mordrin Dead, no, Snake Dance, sorry. Mordrin Dead. Terminus, In Alignment, one of my favourite Peter Davison stories, and it's quite underrated. Another fantastic story, definitely worth a watch. King's Demons, yeah, giving another rewatch is actually quite good. Five Doctors, brilliant. Warriors of the Deep, a really underrated story, and having one of the best ending episodes. Yeah, really underrated. Awakening, another underrated story. Resurrection of the Daleks, yeah, great story. A bit too long for a two-parter. Definitely does well for a four-parter. Planet of Fire, another underrated story. One of my other personal favorite Peter Davison stories, and of course, my all-time favorite, The Caves of Androzani. Boy, what a story! A really fantastic story, and a great way to end the Peter Davison era. Yeah, a really fantastic story from beginning to the end. Attack of the Cybermen. Okay. Adventures of Varus. Yeah, it's good. It's got some clunkers here and there. Definitely a great story, but I just find it to be a bit overrated. I don't praise it like others, but it's still a good story. Mark of the Rani, okay. Two Doctors, okay. Timeless, Revelation of the Daleks, my favourite Colin Baker story. One of the best, probably the best Colin Baker story. I've watched this story so many times. It's such a fantastic story. Revelation of the Daleks, meant to say. So, yep. And now, Mysterious Planet, underrated. Mind Warp, yeah, it's good. Probably the weakest out of season 23. Terror of the Verboids, underrated. The Ultimate Foe, a really fantastic story. Time of the Rani, underrated. Delta and Abandonment, yeah, shit. Dragonfire, good story, good introduction to Ace. Underrated, it's underrated. Remembrance of the Daleks, my favourite Sylvester McCoy story. A really fantastic story. Happiness Patrol, yeah, that one's underrated. Silver Nemesis, it's okay. The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, another fantastic story. Battlefield, a fantastic story, and the last appearance of the Brigadier in the original series. Survival, the ending of the classic series era. Of course, the TV movie. So overall, that's my entire Doctor Who DVD collection. Hopefully I'll do a big collection maybe for later this year or probably next year. Okay, bye.